Yo, what's good? My name is Reginald, aka the R-Star, aka Mr. Straight Fire, and this is Unabashed Reggie's breakdown, analysis, review, reaction to Kendrick Lamar's verse on Buried Alive. Before we start, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And if you're new to my channel, I do breakdowns of rap songs, rhymes, and meaning. I've done mostly Eminem songs because, well, as you can tell this t-shirt, I am a stan. Speaking of which, I now have a store on Teespring, so go to teespring.com/store/unabashedlyreggie. Depending on which country you're in, you can probably see the shirt directly in this video below, but if not, you can go to the links in the description below. And for all my Patreon supporters, go check my Patreon page to get your promo code for a nice little discount. Now, on to the song. Buried Alive is an interlude on Drake's second album, Take Care, which was released on November 15th, 2011. The track is produced by 40 and Super Dupes, and although it's Drake's album, it only features Kendrick Lamar. The reason why I chose this verse is for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's the first verse of Kendrick that I fell in love with and that I would know by heart. Number two, I don't know how the Kendrick fan community feel about this, but from the outside, I feel like it's one of the most underrated verses that people rarely talk about from Kendrick. And number three, final reason, I think this verse is a perfect example of Kendrick's style and what makes him a great writer. You see, this verse is about fame. It's about the pursuit of fame while knowing that when you attain it, it will kill you. Not literally, but your life will no longer be the same, and that version of you pre-fame will be gone forever. Plus, it's a chase done knowing that fame could actually kill you because it could lead to pressure and stress so overwhelming that you could end up taking your whole life or simply lead to become a drug addict with bags on his mama. Even on the Kendrick song, I gotta make an Eminem reference. Let me know if you got that. Sorry. Back to the song. That's why in the intro he says, "You're the death of me." But yet, if fame was a pine box, in other words, a coffin, he'd still jump in it and stay there for the remaining of his life. The interesting thing about Kendrick is that he is a true poet. Now, I could be wrong because I'm not a Kendrick superfan like I am of Eminem, but I feel like Kendrick is not the guy with the amazing wordplays and punchlines. To me, it's all about metaphors throughout a verse or a song and deep meanings that can be interpreted in so many ways. And that's why he's probably the most interesting writer today. With that said, the way that I'll analyze and explain the meaning of his bars will probably differ from what you might see on Genius or your own interpretation, but that's the beauty of Kendrick's writing. Now, let's break down the verse. Looking in the mirror, I'm embarrassed. I'm feeling like a suicidal terrorist. Consonants of the S sounds, embarrassed, suicidal terrorist. Off the bat, Kendrick says his state of mind. On one hand, he's embarrassed because he knows how vain it is to be chasing fame, and on the other, he's nervous, but at the same time excited. My stance, you got that? Because just like a terrorist that would wear an explosive vest, he knows that he's on a mission that would kill him, so he's nervous, but he knows it's for a greater good, so he's excited too. React like an infant whenever you were mentioned. Mind over matter never worked for my nemesis. Notice here, you are mentioned. He's addressing fame directly, but later on we'll talk about it using the third person. That's called personification. That's when you attribute human-like qualities to things or concepts. You'll do it again later. Mind over matter is an idiom that means to be able to control a physical condition, problem, etc. by using the mind. Simply put, it's having willpower over things. So that would be having the strength to not succumb to the desire of fame and what comes with it. Money, drugs, and women. Now, nemesis can mean two things. First would be one's cause for their downfall, and second, a rival. Therefore, this line can mean two things. Either he's saying that having the willpower over what will be his downfall, fame, hasn't been possible, or he's saying that his rivals, other rappers, they've all failed at not chasing fame. However you see it, Kendrick is letting us know that it's nearly impossible to have the willpower to not chase fame when you have the opportunity to do so. I'm in the matter of man arm wrestling hands I was dealt when I said the music business was all I needed. Notice how here he says business instead of business, so it rhymes better with nemesis. Plus, as you can see, there's a lot of the N sound. That's an assonance. Hands you were dealt means the circumstances you were born with. In this case, he was born with this incredible talent, so Kendrick makes a wordplay by tying this expression with arm wrestling. The purpose of that line is to establish how he's struggling with the idea of using his talent to pursue fame. Continuing. Was all I needed. When I got it, I was greeted by an alien that said last year that she slept with a Canadian. This gave him an addiction that keep him in Mercedes-Benz, bright lights, and Rihanna as a lady friend. In terms of rhymes, here in those last four bars, we have three-syllable rhyming pattern with Alien, Canadian, Mercedes-Benz, and Lady Friend, but you still have a strong presence of the N sound, something that is actually throughout most of this verse. No longer addressing fame directly, but instead referring to it. Alien is how Kendrick refers to a woman with out-of-this-world beauty. That's why alien. Once again, he lets us know that he's attracted to fame, and the Canadian he's referring to here is Drake. And I like the fact that he never says Drake in the song, but we know who he's talking about, because of course he dated Rihanna. Also, I love the metaphor here. She slept with a Canadian. She being fame, that's a way of saying that Drake became famous. Moving on. My vice is similar. Women love when you're my type and when you're winning from everything that you palm right. Notice my vice is and my type in rhymes with the previous bright lights in. In the previous lines, he alluded to fame being addictive, and here he admits that he is addicted to it as well. And this line here is so beautiful. It shows how Kendrick is a great writer. Instead of simply saying women love men with money or artists or rappers, he avoids saying rapper and instead says my type, people like him. And to make sure we understand that he means rapper, he adds winning from everything your palm right. In other words, being successful as a songwriter. Beautiful. Put her in the Palms Hotel, Sin City, Devil in a Dress, Platinum Chanel. Alliteration with P's, palm right. Put her, Palms Hotel, and platinum a little later. Simply, those two lines continues the previous by saying what women love, and here he means that women love being treated to a good life and with expensive clothes. Continuing. Live the ambience all cause the audience one day said I would do it. So instead of a verse being read, I'm gonna go and get some head off the strength of my music. In those lines, Kendrick recognizes that he's able to live his life because of the support of his fans. You see, he's thankful for every fan that he gets, but instead of thanking God and reading a verse from the Bible, he prefers to use his fame to have sex with women. I tell a bad bitch your ass too fat, capitalize that, and your weave look good with them Indian tracking device in your Use 5 series, I don't call back. Here, Lamar is describing a situation where he's giving the easiest compliments to a woman to make sure he gets to sleep with her, although she's already into him due to his fame, but he wants to pretend interest so they both don't feel bad. Talking about her nice big ass and her hair. Track extensions are one of the types of hair extension style. One thing to note here, the type of woman that he's describing is a woman that is living above her means to look like she's richer than she is. He tells us that with the simple line, tracking device on your Use 5 series. A 5 series is a BMW, by the way. So tracking devices are most often installed by dealers who sell cars to buyers with a low credit card that does not qualify for a traditional loan. That's why we are able to know what kind of person he's talking about. Moving on. Just blame it on your Canadian. That would be Drake, once again, not naming him. The same day we say we're in the area, cruising in Toronto, hit me on the cellular, thought he was gonna sell me a false word like the rappers I know. I don't know why, but I love how he rhymes cellular with sell me a. Nice little inner rhyme. Kendrick is telling us about his meeting with Drake, which could be the first time they met. The false word like the rappers I know can mean different things. It could be that often rappers who told Kendrick they should meet up would often just never hold their promises. But he could also be talking about conversation he's had with rappers. Conversation where they tell him lies about the industry. But as we will see in the later line, Drake will be very honest with Kendrick. Sat down with a few drinks located where you can see us, a white waitress on standby when we need her. The reason why Kendrick felt the need to specify the waitress race is because it's something that made him feel even more like he made it. Here, he and Drake were the privileged ones in a restaurant and were being served by a white person. Where he comes from, he's used to the opposite. A black Maybach 40 pulled up. 40 is Drake's longtime producer and actually produced on that song, like I said earlier. Jeep, no doors, all that was missing was Aaliyah. Drake's love for Aaliyah is on a whole nother level. I mean, he even got a tattoo of her face across the chest. Oh wait, it's across his back. Back to the line. From Kendrick's perspective, Drake had everything he could wish for except for Aaliyah, because obviously she passed away. Rest in peace. Felt like the initiation, a reality living in the Matrix. For Kendrick, this encounter with Drake was an initiation to see if he could be fit to live a lavish life like this. And I don't know if you've seen the movie The Matrix or are familiar with the concept that we could be living in a simulation. Well, for Kendrick, that moment of being this close to fame is so surreal that he only imagined it in his dream, and now it's a reality. So even if all this is a simulation, that fame is becoming his reality. We talk casually about the industry and how the women be the tastemakers for the shit we making. Indeed, for a rapper to have major success, he needs to have a strong female fan base. That's why a lot of time, crossover records, meaning songs that will be played on the radio or get a lot of streams, are songs that the average female crowd will enjoy. Often when female gets on a trend, males will follow that trend. Drake is the best example of that, I would say. Next lines. Then he said he was the same age as myself and it didn't help because it made me even more rude and impatient. Man, I love that line because it's such a feeling that we can all relate to. As human beings, we have this bad habit of always comparing ourselves to other people. And I'm 100% sure you've had this feeling at some point. When you see someone with a great job or a nice car or a nice house and you think that they're older than you, but then you find out that they're around the same age as you, and then you get the feeling of doubt and questioning yourself and why you haven't achieved the same amount of success. And that feeling will be reiterated by Kendrick in another song. Remember, he used to be jealous of Aaron to follow. He was the one to follow. Anyways, a very relatable line. Let's continue. So blame it on Mr. OVO XO, the reason why I'm breathing the vanity I know. You probably know OVO as Drake's brand and label, but around the time of Drake's second album, there were plans of a joint mixtape with Drake and The Weeknd, whose label is called XO. The reason why my best friend says she loved me more than life, but I live a double life and I need to let her go. Here, the best friend he's referring to is his high school sweetheart, Whitney Alford. In an interview with Billboard in January 2015, Kenny said, "I wouldn't even call her my girl, that's my best friend. I don't even like the term that society has put in the world as far as being a companion. She's somebody that I can tell my fears to." Today, they are engaged and they've welcomed their first child, a baby girl, in the summer of 2019. But what that line tells us is at that time, he probably felt like he couldn't fully commit to her because he had to chase his dreams, kind of similar to that main character in the movie Whiplash, how he dumped his girlfriend. Great movie if you haven't seen it. The double life could refer to adultery with all the groupies he's getting. I guess you can say he was on a mission for bad bitches in trouble. So instead of hurting her more, he had to let her go, although she's the love of his life. And that's what fame can do to a person. Plus, I think it's funny that he sort of puts the blame on Drake, although fame is a real culprit. Final lines. The reason why the highlight was when he said you belong to the people when you're outside. So dig a shovel full of money, full of power, full of fame, full of pussy, and bury yourself alive. Then I died. Two nice alliteration with the P's, power and pussy, and the succession of S, full of fame. The line "you belong to the people when you're outside" showcases how Drake understood the game early and how he definitely didn't give a false word to Kendrick. It's a beautiful and honest way of saying that once you're famous, you're giving up your privacy. Kendrick can definitely forget about being in the streets and eating or feeding his daughter. In other words, you lose a part of you. So it's a figurative death. Plus, most likely Kendrick was afraid of becoming something he didn't want to, but ends up becoming it. Famous and filled with vanity. So the old him died buried alive. That's it, folks. That was my breakdown, analysis, review, reaction of Kendrick's Buried Alive. Let me know what you think. Let me know what I missed. And also leave me some suggestions of Kendrick's verse to break down or any other artist. And please, whether you're an Eminem fan or not, check out my other videos as you will find them very interesting. I don't know what my next video will be at the moment, but until then, this has been Untitled Reggie. Thanks. It's been real.